What's going on? Good morning. Thank you for joining the show, the New Negro Podcast. We're live streaming, and just want to sit up here and let you guys know that thank you for joining the show again. And I'll just check it out, see what we can have going on here. Good morning to anybody who's joining the show this morning. Oh man, just getting my coffee going. So today's show, we talk about Trump not leaving, not wanting to get out of there. That was a reaction to the...
Shane is getting his holiday shopping done early at Amazon. So come December, he'll get to be holiday Shane.
He's out there firing everybody.
Winning is easy. Losing is never easy. Not for me, it's not.
And there it is. The first polls have closed. Counting is now well underway.
The Fox News decision desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a big get. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
No, frankly, you didn't win the election. And it's time for you guys to get up and go.
Match into it. Some of the most irresponsible comments
good morning,
the President
everybody.
of the United States has ever made. He is cast down on the integrity of the entire electoral process purely for his own personal advantage.
For the president to say we want all voting to stop, that's what he said. We don't want them finding ballots in the middle of the night, 4 a.m., and then counting them. That's what happens on election night.
The Trump campaign filed a lawsuit to stop the counting of ballots in Pennsylvania. That is simply wrong.
Today, the president was still out of sight, calling supporters and tweeting furiously, Twitter slapping warning labels on many of his tweets.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes.
Okay, here we are again in the unusual position.
So he never was going to sit up here and lose anyways. His ass was going to plan on never leaving anyways. So no matter what the hell was going to say or what was going to go on, he was never planning on getting out of that place anyways. It's a goddamn shame. Those of you joining this morning, I want you to listen to what's going on. I know what's going on. I think there's going to be something real bad that's going to be happening pretty soon because he's not going to let go. Listen.
Of not only interrupting the President of the United States, but correcting the President of the United States. There are no illegal votes that we know of. There has
46th president of the United States, winning the White House and denying President Trump a second term.
The only glimpses we've seen of Donald Trump since Joe Biden was projected president-elect came over the weekend at his golf course. He is still not willing to accept defeat, fighting his battle in court and on Twitter.
It's important for the cause of democracy and freedom that we don't allege fraud and theft and so forth unless there's very clear evidence of that. And at this stage, that evidence hasn't been produced.
We are still yet to hear from President Trump in person. All we are getting at the moment is a series of angry tweets, many of those written in capitals. However, only recently he tweeted that actually the lamestream media, as he called it, was somehow responsible for calling this election early.
Unfortunately, he does nothing with grace or dignity or any semblance of class.
President Trump fired his defense secretary today. No lame-duck president has ever done such a thing. Mark Esper and President Trump have long been at odds. President Twitter fired him.
And he's such a coward.
That Attorney General Bill Barr will instruct the Department of Justice to probe, quote, substantial allegations of voting irregularities.
Just send them all to jail. All of them. Every single one to jail.
Why can't they share?
As far as I'm concerned.
Or is this more proof of why
There's
Trump
no man more powerful than everybody in
was
America.
impeached for abusing the power that you gave him?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
There better be.
We're ready. We must count every legal vote. We must make sure that any vote that wasn't lawful ought not be counted. That dilutes your vote.
Sir, what do you say to the Americans that are anxious over the fact that President Trump has yet to concede and what that might mean for the country?
I just think it's an embarrassment.
It really is. It's a goddamn shame. This morning, so what we're seeing on TV.
Tyson Anytizer's chicken is raised with.
Is Trump is letting go of everybody that's speaking up to him. So I'm gonna give you a little look here, and I'm gonna tell you what I think after that.
President Trump has done something. He's fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper. The president announced the news on Twitter, writing Esper had been, quote, terminated and will be replaced by the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Christopher Miller, effective immediately. A lot of people in Washington have been expecting that Secretary Esper could be out after the election, after he publicly disagreed with the president back in June when he said that active duty troops should not.
So anybody that's on Trump's team that sits up there and has any kind of that's fought to him or spoke up to him or anything like that, he's letting them go so he can build a cabinet around him. If you look at the people that he has around him now, all the little guys he got somebody that's wait, hold on, just let you listen.
Be sent to help control protests on the streets of American cities. Well, for more on this, let's go to Chief Global Affairs Correspondent and This Week co-anchor Martha Raddatz, who's covered this for a long time. Martha, first, did this take you by surprise? And what do we know about how this came about?
Well, we have known Terry for a while that Esper might be on the chopping block for just exactly what you just described. He publicly disagreed with the president about calling out active duty military with that insurrection act. He did that. Chairman Mark Milley also apologized for being with the president in Lafayette Square just before that.
I gotta get another one of these things.
So I think, however, it was a surprise just so quickly. And after losing the election, it is that, wait a minute, why bother? You have just 2.5 months left. Now, apparently, Esper was given a heads up. I happened to talk to the Pentagon spokesperson just 2 hours before this tweet came out and talked about whether or not Esper was going to stay, and he said he has no intention of resigning. So I guess the heads up came perhaps in that 2-hour period, or perhaps he was just using language that was rather cute and knew about it at the time, John Stockman, or maybe he didn't know at all because Esper hadn't told them that over at the Pentagon, they're already preparing for the replacement to arrive. Chris Miller, who's director of the National Counterterrorism Center, a very unusual choice, Terry, even though he has been at the Pentagon before, he has not been in senior positions there, and he has only been at the National Counterterrorism Center for a few months. The highest position he ever attained at the Pentagon was an assistant secretary of defense. And there are lots of them within the Pentagon. But he has his background in special operations. So I think some are concerned over there.
They should be very concerned. Very concerned.
President Trump need to replace Esper in these last couple of months. Is he planning something, or does he just want to show he's in charge still?
Well, he's not a man to leave scores unsettled. But let's go back to what the source of that tension might have been that day outside the White House.
I think he's a scary little man. I think he's a scary little man. I think he's tough as what he tried to play it off. I really don't. That's just my opinion.
And Defense Secretary with him. And then in the days following, it was Defense Secretary Esper, as you just said, who declined, who said he would be opposed to the invoking of the Insurrection Act, which is the only way that presidents can send United States troops onto the streets of our cities. Esper didn't like that. So what does this tell you about what President Trump did want that day and how much tension it caused between the White House and the Defense Department? Was Esper representing himself or a broader consensus within his Pentagon responsibilities?
I think he was, Terry, and I think, my reporting right after that event was those close to Esper said this is absolutely nothing. This is something he did not want to do. Both Esper and Milley say they really didn't want to be there in Lafayette Park. Milley, of course, was in uniform. He was in a camouflage uniform. Esper, I think it was a few days before that, on a phone call, the governors had talked about the protests and said that the National Guard needed to dominate. And again, just for the listeners and viewers, the National Guard is not active duty military per se. And what the president was talking about doing is getting our active duty military troops who are not allowed to take part in any law enforcement because of Toxic Comitatus onto the streets. But Esper had said dominate the battle space.
What? You think so? How do you?
Apologize for that as well. Said it was a dumb thing to say, but it was his background, his own background in the military that made it that way. But once that happens, and once anybody publicly agrees with Donald Trump and his administration, they're usually not around for long. So in some ways, if it continues that he has lasted this many months, so what?
If anybody's just tuning in now, this is the New Negro Podcast, American People United. Thank you for joining in. So what they're basically getting at is that he's set up here and he's actually fired everybody that's pretty much around him that can actually tell him what to do. He's trying to set up him a little base. So I'm thinking at the end, when it comes January, he's going to try to take the power to be able to make it so nobody can take him out of there. But once it comes January 5th, what he fails to realize is that he's no longer the president. There's nothing he can stop.
Or is there some military operation that Esper was opposed
but to let some big-headed ass eagle, drunk-looking, pale iguana come up in there and punk America like that is a goddamn shame. Damn shame.
Pompeo, the Secretary of State, talking about more sanctions on Iran. As we all know, President Trump pulled out of that nuclear deal with Iran. Joe Biden has made it clear he would like to get back into that. I'm sure there would still be some negotiations because the world has changed, the world has moved on, and that
sure has. See, I have
it may not be in the same shape it was before, but definitely something that some of the Pentagon are concerned about.
I would like to be able to make it work.
All right, Brother Rance, it'll be interesting to see how history judges Defense Secretary Esper as an insubordinate profile and turns somebody in a tight spot. Thanks very much for that. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts.
So I hope you guys are listening to that. But
as America's veterans face challenges deep.
What I'm getting at is that if I was the top of something and I fired everybody around there that's going to question me and be able to put in other people that's not going to question me and try to he's going to try to get rid of people in the White House that have any questions and try to make it so he can run his own thing himself. His lawyer told everybody exactly the truth about this, man. Now listen up.
Success isn't just about where you want to get to. It's also about how you get there. Cut on rehearsal. The all-new 2021 Cadillac Escalade.
See then.
Donald Trump today is still sending out many emails and texts to supporters. As we've been discussing, they're requesting money that they say are for lawsuits, but the money isn't going there. You need to know this. The fine print reveals 60% of these newly requested donations are for Save America, which is the new PAC that will fund, under the law, these things are regulated, the ex-presidency activities. The other 40% goes right to the RNC after a donor gives over $5,000. Only then does any of the money go to what is called the recount account. In other words, Jason,
the reason.
Go ahead.
Ari, I'm so sorry to interrupt. The reason he's doing it, and sorry, Jay, the reason he's doing it is because he has no income. And you would see that if you would turn over his tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
There's no income there, right? So he doesn't have the apprentice making $65 million a year.
Nope.
Most of his assets are underperforming. They're non-performing assets. The few that he has doesn't cover the big cost. So he's going to use this like he used the Trump Foundation as a slush fund. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I think that was a very factual interruption. I'll let Jason build on the same point, which is we've never been a show that's overreacted to just Trump tweets or anything else. We will continue to keep our eye on the news and events as they occur. As I've emphasized, he is still the sitting president. If he is misleading or lying about the nature of this appeals process, we need to put that out so people understand, including
including his own supporters, Jason, who, if they watch the beat tonight, will say, oh, wow, so wait, the email subject line said we're out to fight these cases, but the money doesn't even go to that.
Right, and we've seen this with Trump world in general, or we saw it with the wall. People thought they were giving to a wall. They were giving to slush funds. And here's the thing, not just that Trump has no income, but he is also potentially facing dozens of lawsuits once he is no longer president of the United States. So to continue, mentioned yesterday, continue with that De Niro theme from Heat. Like when the heat is coming, can't have anything in your life, you can't leave in 30 seconds. Trump can't leave politics because at this point, it's his only way of making money. He will perpetually claim that he is running for president. He will open up super PACs. He will do rallies because that's the only way for him to make cash. He will be defending himself legally the moment he gets out of office. And this is what I think, quite frankly, the president should probably want to avoid from a branding perspective. Look, I don't necessarily think he's going to end up in jail. But if he continues to play this game, and eventually, the press is not going to care, the public's not going to care, Republicans are going to start moving along with what they need to do. What he doesn't want is an embarrassing situation of him or someone linked to him having to be removed. He doesn't want the image of somebody coming up to the White House and their key doesn't work. And that's what he's facing if he continues in this mode.
I got to get this in. We went from Cohen to De Niro to Pacino to Johnson. It wouldn't be complete without Rosie, who's also clashed with the president long before he was president. But I did catch up with her today. This was just on Instagram Live spontaneously. Rosie O'Donnell, and he's badmouthed her in some of the most sexist ways, likening him now in this moment to a caged animal. Take a look.
I think he's in shock. And he doesn't quite know what to do. And he sees no way out, and now he's panicking like a caged animal and trying to, fabricate causes for his trumped up charges against this election and fraud. He's a desperate man, and he's in a desperate situation, and it brings joy to millions of us.
Ain't that the truth?
Michael, your view of her assessment of him is that desperate.
So first of all, I've grown now to become friends with Rosie. She came to visit me while I was in Otisville.
No way.
And we speak on a regular basis. And I apologized to her each and every day. She told me I have to stop because I was part of that attack on her, which was really obscene and it was gross.
I'm going to now interrupt
you. I don't know, but
Michael, I'm going to interrupt you. So it goes back and forth. That's the thing with lawyers on TV together. But this is interesting. I mean, you're saying that when you were behind the walls there in prison, dealing with much of what you had to deal with because of your work for Donald Trump, that Rosie O'Donnell came and visited you and you guys bonded over all this?
She did. She spent over 6 hours with me one day. She was a hit in the rec room. Don't forget, I was in a satellite camp. Everybody loves Rosie and everybody came over. And she was just as gracious can be.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate it.
So what do you see? How do you feel about it? Call me in 425-344-5865. This is the New Negro this morning, and we are on podcast. I got some great music for you. I got some just a lot of good stuff that I just wanted to keep talking to you about, because this whole situation with the president is absolutely crazy, man. This is absolutely crazy. What's next? What's going on next? I feel like he's going to be end up doing a lot of jail. He's going to be doing a lot of jail time. I mean, and the refusal and the
President-elect Joe Biden this afternoon,
and the way the Republicans are backing him up. I hope they all go to jail. Every single one of them. I hope all of them go to jail. Now check it out.
Says outgoing President Trump's refusal to concede the election is, quote, an embarrassment. Biden assured Americans that he is moving forward with the transition with or without President Trump's help. And he said the Republican Senate is, quote, mildly intimidated by President Trump, as some Republicans and top allies are enabling outgoing President Trump's denial of the reality. President-elect Biden took calls today from the leaders of Germany, France, Ireland, and the UK, but the calls were not patched through the U.S. State Department, as traditionally would happen, because the Trump administration is still refusing to allow the transition process to begin. And this is not necessarily just a matter of letting the president's legal remedies play out in courts. Some members of the Trump administration are signaling that they're unwilling to accept the results of the democratic process. It can be, frankly, chilling to hear. Take Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this afternoon.
Is the State Department currently preparing to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
A smooth transition to a second Trump administration. That is madness. And at the same time, Secretary Pompeo was saying that, Vice President Mike Pence was on Capitol Hill detailing all the Trump lawsuits and supposed voter fraud at the GOP Senate lunch.
Yeah, he said.
The White House is also now currently.
I just not caught that. He said it'll be a smooth transition to the Trump administration, second Trump administration. Hold the hell up.
Chilling to hear. Take Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this afternoon.
Is the State Department currently going to engage with the Biden transition team? And if not, at what point does a delay hamper a smooth transition or pose a risk to national security?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
A smooth transition to a second Trump administration. That is madness.
Wow.
And at the same time, Secretary Pompeo was saying that Vice President Mike Pence was on Capitol Hill detailing all the Trump lawsuits and supposed voter fraud at the GOP Senate lunch.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man is planning on leaving. He's planning on not leaving, man, at all.
The White House is also now currently firing top officials at the Pentagon and replacing them with fierce loyalists. And most Republican officials in Washington are going along with this. Here's Senator Ron Johnson, the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security.
Oh, he's just going to sit up here and take over. He's just going to take it over, huh?
Senator, have you congratulated Vice President Biden yet?
No.
Why not?
There's nothing to congratulate him about, Johnson said. Senator Roy Blunt, a member of Senate Republican leadership, said today that President Trump, quote, may not have been defeated at all, unquote. Let's be clear. President Trump was defeated. He lost substantially in the popular vote and substantially in the Electoral College. Now, yes, we are all waiting for the counts to be officially completed and the results to be certified.
No matter what they say, no matter how much they say, when it comes January 5th, it's a wrap.
But this thing is done. Democratic Senator Chris Coons said today that his Republican colleagues are privately asking him to pass on congratulations to President-elect Biden because they cannot do so publicly. This is not just cowardly, it is dangerous. Now, I've spent some time today talking to Republican officials on both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue, and what they say is no one out there should worry that our democracy is in actual jeopardy.
President Trump told his people all in there, if anybody's planning on if they're all looking for a job, if they look for a job, he will fire them.
They say this is all part of walking President Trump through this process emotionally, and that they assume that while he may never concede, he will leave. There will be, they say, a peaceful transition of power to the Biden-Harris administration on January 20th. They say that, but they say it on background because they don't want to upset President Trump and they don't want to get death threats from his supporters. Now, you may or may not find that reassuring. Either way, Secretary Pompeo, Senators Johnson and Blunt, and all the others enabling this fiction that the president may have won the election, they are continuing to put their loyalty to President Trump ahead of their loyalty to the United States of America and to the American people who deserve the truth about this election, not more divisive lies that terrify one half of the nation and misinform and thus outrage the other half. Our correspondents are covering all angles of this story. First, let's go to CNN's Jeff Zeleny, who questioned the president-elect today. And Jeff, boy, he was really downplaying what Republicans are doing here, instead saying he can do this transition without the money, the intelligence briefings, and frankly, without the Trump concession. What is the strategy here?
Jake, he did have the look of a triumphant winner, and he brushed aside Republican resistance, saying he knows that they're intimidated by the president. And frankly, instead of spending his time on the phone with Republicans, he spent it on the phone with world leaders. And he said his message for them is simple: America is back. President-elect Joe Biden moving forward today to build his new administration, even as President Trump and Republicans try complicating his transition to power.
Here we go to a civil war, guys.
Quite frankly. 71 days until the inauguration, reality is settling in that Biden is facing new roadblocks as the Trump administration refuses to cooperate with the time-honored tradition of a peaceful transition. But Biden also taking pains to cool the temperature over tensions in the transition, saying he could still begin forming a government without access to federal funding and intelligence. He downplayed the possibility of taking legal action.
We can get through without the funding. We're in a position that we feel very good about. There's nothing that slows up our efforts to put things together.
At his first news conference since the election, Biden playfully smiled at the Republican resistance. He said he has not spoken to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
I haven't had a chance to speak to Mitch. My expectation is that I will do that in not too distant future. I think that the whole Republican Party has been put in a position, with a few notable exceptions, of being mildly intimidated by the sitting president.
McConnell suggesting today he may not recognize the outcome until the Electoral College meets next month, which would go against any modern American transition.
Until the Electoral College votes, anyone who's running for office can ask concerns about counting should not be alarming.
Yet world leaders are moving on. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, a longtime Trump ally and admirer, offering his congratulations in a call to Biden, as did French President Emmanuel Macron, Chancellor Angela Merkel.
I'm letting them know that America's back. We're going to be back in the game. It's not American alone.
Biden sought to keep the spotlight on policy, namely protecting the Affordable Care Act, the landmark law that was under the microscope during Supreme Court oral arguments today.
We're going to fight for your family's health coverage the same way we fight for our own family's health coverage.
Say that.
The turmoil is even more telling, considering this day in history. It was 4 years ago that Biden met with Vice President-elect Mike Pence, and President Obama welcomed President-elect Donald Trump into the Oval Office.
And you know the way he cheated to get in there.
Now we're going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds. Well, thank you very much, President Obama.
Now Biden has no.
So he got his way up in there, but yet he want to sit up here and not let the next person get their way up in here. So, Seattle Police Department investigating a King County Sheriff officer involved shooting in Woodinville. The Seattle Police Department Force Investigations Team's FIT is investigating officer involved shooting that occurred in Woodinville November 9, 2020. The King County Sheriff Office contracts with City of Woodinville to provide police services to the community. On November 9th, 2020, deputies responded to the report of a possible car prowl. They were provided with a description of a suspect, which included that he appeared to be carrying a rifle case. Deputies contacted the suspect in the parking lot of an apartment complex. During the contact, shots were fired. Both deputies sustained non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. The suspect died at the scene. The deputies were transported to the hospitals where they were treated for their injuries. Both fit and the department's CSI team responded to conduct an investigation. This is an ongoing investigation that expects to last several months. While if you're a witness to it, have any information to the investigation, please contact FIT office at 206-684-9292. Wow. Woodinville officer shooting. What? People are losing their damn minds. That's what they're doing. They're losing their mind. The only thing I can say to you is stay strapped. Stay with mask on, stay in your homes, or not stay in your home, but just stay safe out there. That's all I can say, It's pretty damning, man. It's really, really damning. And other good news out there today: Russell Wilson and his wife gave a generous $1.7 million out to a fundraiser to help contribute to help out with a local school. Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson and his wife Sierra recently made a generous donation to a local school in Seattle, Washington. Wilson has had an MVP-like season with the Seahawks 2020, and his eyes are set on winning another Super Bowl. But not if he plays like he did the other day ago against the Bills. That was absolutely crazy. Anybody else watch that? Again, this is the New Negro Podcast, and this is the voice of the people, American people united. Not if he plays like he played the other day ago. That was pretty shitty. So, an Edmonds man apparently dies from suicide, from killing a woman locally over here. Like 15, 17 years ago, but he gets into the county jail and kills himself. Edmonds resident Terrence Miller died of an apparent suicide early Monday morning in his Edmonds home, just hours before the jury pronounced him guilty of the 1972 cold case murder of 20-year-old Jody Loomis in Bothell. Miller had been living in the home since posting bond and being released Friday, June 14, 2019. The 2 weeks county Superior Court trial concluded at midday on Friday, and the 7 women, 5-man jury spent the remainder of the day in deliberations. Juries reconvened Monday morning and shortly afterwards informed the court that they had reached a verdict. The judge's legal terms and teams, both sides, were informed and directed to be in court at 1 p.m. So he kills himself. Well, he's a coward, and we basically knew that much. This is the New Negro, and I'm out today. See you guys later on that. I'm out 10.